It's Nerd 30. So come one, come all to the nerdiest show of them all. The Omega level nerds are ready to talk nerdy to you. Hello there, it is Nerd 30. It is I, Dsquare, with you on another edition of the Omega Level Nerds podcast. Going solo, at least to start this one. But we will actually insert some audio and video, if you're on YouTube, of me and Halo Drama talking about a very interesting subject, at least to me, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, which was recently trailer had been released and all that, so we'll talk about that. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Thor Love and Thunder and the MCU Phase 4, because I'm starting to really see where we may be saturated to a point where the expectations might not really be where they should. But before I dive into that, let's just talk about kind of a spoiler-free. I'm sure you've seen it already because, you know, I'm not exactly on top of this. It's not exactly my thing. But just in case you didn't see it, you know, a little spoiler-free. I thought it was good, entertaining, funny. Really enjoyed it. I thought the action was good. I took my whole family. So I have, you know, a daughter that's 5, one that's 8, me, my wife, my niece, brother. We all went and we all enjoyed it. Laughed, was very entertained. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is I mean, that's my review. I mean, I see here that we've got IMDb at a 6.9. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes at 68%. All right. Metacritic 57. So very, I'd say average to below average scores on this one. And personally, I don't think that is deserved. I think at 8. But let's talk about those expectations that I mentioned, how they're probably not where they need to be. I think Phase 4 in general is getting kind of a bad rap, or at least people aren't framing it correctly. This is a standalone film. It's not an Avengers film. So Endgame just, you know, we had this whole 10-year process that was great, that crescendoed in Infinity War and Endgame. And then we had Spider-Man come along, you know, that basically tied all the Spider-Man universes together. And so that kind of kept it going, I think, as far as that epic expectation of, you know, what's in these movies and what's in the MCU. But really, that's not what's happening. You know, like in comics, you know, the Endgame was the end of a big story arc. And Phase 4 does not seem to have a story arc yet outside of introducing a lot of new characters. So that's something that you need to acknowledge, is that, you know, these are new characters. So there is going to be a drop-off there. Because people, just like in the comics, you know, they want to kind of stick with the originals. Not everybody, but the majority. You know, you've got these longtime fans that are not ready or will ever be ready to just see their character go off into the sunset. And, you know, MCU is going to be the same way. Honestly, it's really great because the MCU made a lot of the staple characters, Avengers characters, a lot better, or at least more important in the comics. And actually, Thor would be one of my example. I mean, Thor was, sure, always a big deal, but honestly, I never really liked him. I thought he kind of looked dumb. The yea, verily, speak, if that was in the MCU, you know, if that's how the Thor character talked. Oh, and by the way, if he wasn't Chris Hemsworth, and had a little bit of a personality, nobody would care about Thor. At least as far as the MCU. I didn't like him in the comics. I mean, I didn't hate him, I guess, but I said, oh, he flies because he whips the Mjolnir around and throws it and hangs onto it. That's how he flies. Like, I just never, I never, as much as I love D&D and stuff like that, just the space Viking, or just really the Viking character in comics didn't work for me, but they made it work in the MCU, and they did that by making sure that they cast a pretty big blonde guy, and that he didn't wear his helmet hardly at all, because if he wore the wing helmet all the time, then it would not be favorable to the character. But yeah, I mean, Thor is not a funny character in the comics, but wisely so he is in the MCU, because otherwise he stays a B character, okay? And really, when you look at the original Avengers, the movies, the characters, first of all, we have Iron Man, okay? Iron Man without Robert Downey Jr. stays a C character like he is in the comics. But with good writing and good acting, the Iron Man character went from C level to A. Hulk was always an A, so it's not even, always very popular. Again, Thor to me would be about B tier, but cast Chris Hemsworth, you bring all these new female fans, and believe me, you'll never convince me. Like, I know personally a lot of people, females, that they think Chris Hemsworth in the role is hot. They love the long blonde hair, and therefore everything Thor they're all about, which I'm all for. Whatever brings fans, to these movies. Hawkeye, Black Widow, always C tier, but this definitely brought them up B tier. Good actors, good writing there as well. So, I know from Variant, on YouTube, Eris Quinones, I know one of his big criticisms is that this Thor is not the Thor from the comics. Absolutely. That's just, you're right. But I think for better reasons. Plus, hey, listen, I'm an X-Men fan. So, like that meme, is this your first time? Obviously not. So, in all that context, I really think that Phase 4 and Thor Love and Thunder is a lot better than what it is being given credit for. Again, we're not going to be able to maintain this endgame crescendo energy. We have to rebuild here. You may have some criticism centered around the introduction of the new characters. I think that Disney will learn a little bit that, and this may be frustrating to people, that they will find some resistance moving on. I know that's what they're trying to do. We're headed toward the Young Avengers and all that jazz. You can already see it, which I'm okay with, because I think they're, with the new Disney Plus and stuff like that, there's really room for all of it. But it can also be argued, and let me know what you think, is there's just too much, though? Is there too much? I personally think Star Wars has a little bit better pacing. I feel a little bit saturated with the current MCU. But, I don't know. It's a good problem. We have Disney Plus. And there goes my other kind of defense of Phase 4 in general, and Thor Love and Thunder, is we're seeing that these movies, they come out their first weekend, they do really well, and then their second weekend, they drop. Doctor Strange 2 dropped by 60%, and Thor Love and Thunder dropped by 80%. And I've read articles where, this is presented as something's wrong. This, people, no, this is after the pandemic. This is after Disney Plus. So, in Phase 3, if you wanted to see within a 6-month span, Endgame twice, you had to go to the theaters multiple times, or stuff like that, or before that, But now we wait 6 weeks, 7 weeks, so you can go to the theater, experience it, bloviate about it, just like I am, and then come home, wait your 6 weeks, and then boom, we get to watch it again. This time in the comfort of our home, with cheaper popcorn and beverages. It's a good system just from my experience, from what I'm experiencing with it. So it's with that I think that unfortunately we're seeing the MCU fans kind of morph and cross, which totally makes sense, with Star Wars fans, which no matter what direction the content goes in, you're just going to have half of everybody that finds a reason to shit on it. I don't know. Again, I'm a comic book fan, and I do like the outside comic content to stick as closely to the source material as it possibly can. But I know that there are decisions that need to be made, because what works in a comic is just not always going to work in a movie. Even with all the crazy technology and stuff we have now, it's not always going to work, But when a decision's just dumb and they shouldn't have made it, like making Juggernaut not Professor Xavier's stepbrother, making Juggernaut a mutant, then, that's just ridiculous. Speaking of the Juggernaut and the world of the X-Men, and saturation, I guess, quite frankly, is Miss Marvel. So I've watched the first episode. I didn't hate it. I liked it. My daughter likes it. We just, haven't been able to catch back up with it. It's summertime here. I live in northeast Ohio. We live by a lake. I don't know. We have fun. Kids are outside. Going to Cedar Point and all that stuff. So, just not spending a whole lot of time together in front of the TV. But definitely looking to get back to it. But, spoiler alert, and, I've spoiled it for myself here, but apparently they revealed at the end of that series that she is a mutant. Which I raise my eyebrows, because she in the comics is an Inhuman. So I thought it peculiar, because I also hate Inhumans. You may or may not know the background about that. If you're a fan of the channel, I digress. Before I get into that, or without getting into that, I did find out, so this is kind of interesting, that when Miss Marvel came out, which was 10 years ago, really wasn't, the day, this is not a super established comic book character, popular one, but not super established. They wanted to make her a mutant, but at the time, that's when Disney didn't have the movie rights to the X-Men. So in the comic book, the Marvel comic book division that they own, they were basically trying to kill off, delegitimize the mutants, what have you. So they made the decision to make her an Inhuman, because in my view, at the time, they were trying to basically have the Inhumans replace the mutants. Glad that didn't happen. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's an interesting twist. That's an interesting fact that they originally wanted to have her be a mutant. And so they're taking this opportunity to make that happen. So I guess I don't have a whole lot against that. Again, I think that they should stick with the source material where they can. But let's face it, the Inhumans are not exactly working in the MCU. So any character that they make an Inhuman, it could very well be a death knell for that character. So I can't file it under a stupid decision. I would have to file that under, okay, that makes sense. You know, did I expect my X-Men mutants to be introduced the way that they have, with, of course, obviously Doctor Strange 2 with Professor X, and now in this show she's told she's a mutant in like the X-Men animated series, or at least a short version of, kind of plays as that is being revealed. So pretty blatant that that's the introduction, or I don't know if it's that introduction, because again we got Professor Xavier, but that was a different Marvel universe. It wasn't the 616 MC, because there's 2 and 616 is the comic 616 and the MCU 616. So the MCU 616, yeah, Miss Marvel is our first mutant. Okay. I can't trash it. Not yet, anyway. You know, as an X-Men fan, after seeing what Fox did to my mutants, you know, so thankful for the MCU, because, you know, one thing, they may not always stick to the source material, which you really can't, but at least they make them look like their comic counterparts. You know, not like Fox did with my X-Men, put them in the black leather, monochromatic, boring uniforms to where if you didn't know any better, if you put, you know, the guy that played Iceman on screen, was it Iceman? Is it Jamie Madrox? Who is it? You don't know. So, you know, thank you, Kevin Feige, for changing that. But yeah, mutants in the MCU, in the 616 MCU. So here they are. How will they go forward? I think, honestly, they're going to need a multi-prong approach. I think they're going to need TV shows. I think the movies, maybe you can make a good movie based off of just the first original X-Men #1, the 5 original members with Xavier versus Magneto. I think you can make a movie out of that. But when it really gets going, there's so many aspects of which are very popular now in manga, with My Hero Academia, all these like classroom drama, academy dramas. This is JD Oliva's point, by the way, so I'm just mimicking it here. Just, you know, but he's right. You know, how popular is that genre? And X-Men really are the originators of, you know, with the school for gifted youngsters. So I do think they should lean into that. I think we should get a more younger school-based series than, you know, give us another offshoot series, X Factor or something, or some other just general mutant action drama. You can do it, and, you know, have the next movie be where, you know, they come together again. Perhaps they do the giant size X-Men. You know, where the new X-Men, that's where Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, Banshee, Thunderbird, they all come in, led by Scott Summers, to go get the original X-Men, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, Angel. But I definitely think they're going to need a multi-prong approach. I think they're going to need shows, movies for crescendos, and I think it could be really good if they do it right. But yeah, here we go. You know, you see the cracks in the mutant eggs. You see them coming through. And Miss Marvel is a mutant. What do you think the next mutant we will see is? So we've seen Professor Xavier, now Miss Marvel. Who do you think the next mutant in the MCU will be? All right, well, so what I have in store for you next, and you're a follower of the YouTube channel, you may have already seen this. But if not, if you are just one of our wonderful Podbean or Apple Podcast app downloaders, thank you so much. We have a discussion. Me and Halo Drama talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake and the newly announced Rebirth. We go through that trailer, and yeah, so we're just going to insert that here and hope you enjoy. Halo Drama and myself are very big Final Fantasy VII fans.
For sure.
You know, I actually played the game when it originally came out for PlayStation.
For sure.
And honestly, I had to flip my PlayStation over or it wouldn't even work. And because those fans started to go bad after a little while. So you had to flip over the system to keep it cool enough to run your game. So when I played Final Fantasy game 7, I played it with my PlayStation upside down. Nonetheless, so we've been just very big fans ever since. So very excited back in 2015 when they announced that they were going to do a Final Fantasy VII remake.
Whew. Yeah, preach.
Great game. I mean, Final Fantasy, the old one in itself. Hell, I played it right before, played it multiple times, but I played it right before the Final Fantasy VII remake came out. But certainly it came out in the age where the 3D pixels weren't exactly, a masterpiece. Some parts of the game look rough.
Yeah.
So all of us Final Fantasy VII fans, again, just excited to get that update. So we got this announcement, but we had to wait 5 years until that game came out. 5 long years, of course. We talked about it on the Omega Level Nerds podcast, which you can find here on this YouTube channel. So I don't know exactly who I'm speaking to on this video, but gentlemen our age, let me know in the comments, what was your excitement level for when this game first came out? Boy, I remember pre-ordering it at Funcoland, and they had this cool shirt with Cloud Strife on the back. I remember wearing it at school, and all of us at school that had it, we could kind of, congregate, you could tell who pre-ordered their Final Fantasy VII because they wore that shirt, at least if they were brave enough. So, yeah, really excited about the remake. It took a long time. It came out, and it was great. It was a great game. I did have a lot of umbrage, anger, whatever you want to describe it as, at the fact that it wasn't going to be a one-for-one remake, though. Because we heard before it came out that it was going to be episodic.
Yeah.
I was not happy about that. Still not happy about it. Because when the game did come out, because obviously we gave it a chance because it looked great. Played the demo before, pre-ordering it and buying it. The battle system, although completely different from the turn-based battle system of the original, worked very well.
Yeah, definitely.
In fact, I think it should be the basis of RPGs nowadays, particularly Final Fantasies, which is actually in question Final Fantasy 16. One thing I hated about Final Fantasy 15, and I did play all the way through that motherfucker, was the fact that not only was the party basically an emo, monochromatic wardrobe wearing, just emo goth party. One guy kept bugging you about the fucking food he was making. But was the battle system that you could only control Noctis. You couldn't really control the other characters. But in Final Fantasy VII Remake, they did it. You could control the other characters in the party, to a great degree that felt very RPG-ish for me. So, that was great. And we enjoyed the game, right? I mean, yeah, Terrell, I'm sorry, Halo Dome, I know you did.
Hell yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, no. I bought that day drop, and I almost called off of work for a week wanting to play that damn game. Almost like a little kid.
Right.
But yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, different fighting system, but yeah, I definitely liked it. Took some getting used to. But yeah, like you said, you can still different, but you can still initially control all the characters because you can switch in between them, whoever you wanted to be the head while you were in battle. But still, in your menu options, you could still have your other characters do stuff while you still had somebody else at the head of the battle, who everybody 90% of the time it was Cloud.
Sure.
Depending on the battle. Obviously, if it was a long range battle, you picked Barrett.
Yep.
To be the head because he could do long distance all day.
Yeah. Yep.
But and Tifa was cool.
She had some good moves.
Ares, what is her name? Ares or Aerith in this game? I can't remember. But she shocked me as how good of a character and a fighter she was compared to the original game. Because the original game, she was more or less the RPG trope of the healer.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, in this game she kind of was too, but she can actually fight in this game. And her staff, did some kind of magical stuff where it would shoot off beams every time you hit the attack, so she could do long distance too.
Yep.
That wasn't in the original game, but I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah.
Not every aspect about the game, for anybody who has played it, not every aspect about the game was exactly the same, but it was still great and enjoyable nonetheless, personal opinion only.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely agree with that. My only complaint, really, but in real time, I really didn't mind it and stood up for it, I guess. Again, you can listen to the podcast and listen, but is the fact that not only was this an episodic and not one-for-one adventure, but as you're playing the game, and maybe a lot of you watching this video, let me know in the comments, maybe you knew ahead of time that there was going to be some very big plot differences. Certain characters survived, particularly with Big Wedge, Jesse, 2 out of 3 of those survived, right? If I remember right.
No, just Biggs.
Or just Biggs, right.
Yeah, just Biggs. The other 2 died.
But notably, at the end of the game, we learned that Zach survived. Now, I've never played Crisis Core because I never had a PSP or whatever the hell that Sony held.
I think that's what it was on, and unfortunately, I've never played it either. I've heard it get a lot of praise.
Mm-hmm. They did a remake recently, which I think
I want to say, they're working on it, or it came out by now. But I've never played it either. Heard a lot of great things about it, but I've just never played it.
Yep. And then they had these Harry Potter Dementor things in the game, and okay, what's this about? But basically, by the end of the game, you destroy the final boss. Spoiler alert! It's some big Kingdom Hearts fate thing, that goes along with these Dementors. So basically, something's up. This storyline is not going to go the same way that the original game went.
Right.
I mean, obviously, we see, as we just spoke about, some characters that survived that originally didn't. I was into it at the time. I wanted to support the game. I thought the game was good. I enjoyed the game. I actually think the battle system should be the standard as RPGs go. So, I really didn't think nothing of it. Now comes the next, there was a Yuffie DLC, what was it called? Final Fantasy VII Intergrade.
Intergrade.
Yeah, right. I haven't played it. Nor
have I.
I really don't like getting games in pieces like this. So DLC is a pretty hard sell for me. But we did get the next main installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not Final Fantasy VII Remake number 2, as we thought we would get, because we were told this Final Fantasy VII Remake was installments. But in fact, it has a completely different title, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So further evidence that we're going to get more story deviation.
Right. Yep. I was thinking the same thing. More changes.
Yep. I'll hold off my remarks about that. So before we do get into that Halo drama, what do you say we just we go through the trailer here? I'll stop it, or you tell me to stop it when you feel there's pertinent reason to do so.
Right.
And here we go. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this is going to be.
What we've done, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed.
Okay.
I don't know if you were going to say what I was about to say. That feather. I know it has to have some kind of importance, but I don't know what.
Okay, so I've not played Crisis Core, but from what I understand, there is an important character in that game that is able to turn into an angel or have angel wings. It's got something to do with Zack. And so that's kind of what I've heard as far as chatter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never played it either, so I got nothing on that either.
What I wanted to point out was that right off the bat, we start off with Aerith saying, okay, what happened, but the future didn't, even though it's written yet. So again, we have the original Final Fantasy VII out already, where she dies, but to me, I feel she's alluding to, hey, we know that in another game I was supposed to die, but this is a whole new thing.
Right.
11 seconds into the trailer. All right. I digress. Let's go.
So focus on the future, not the past.
He wants to finish what he started.
Now this right here, pause.
Birthright.
This right here, to me, is blatantly the flashback.
Mm-hmm. Obviously. Yep. See the Niflheim or the mountains there, Mount Nibble.
Yeah, them going up to Mount Nibble. Because, I mean, obviously, when else have Cloud and Sephiroth been that cool that they can just stroll side to side beside each other?
Right.
Without wanting to kill each other. And obviously, yeah, this is a flashback. So this is Cloud's memories. You know, letting everybody know what he thought happened, which obviously come to find out that's not what happened at all.
Yeah.
For anybody who's not played the original game, sorry if I spoiled that for you.
But that's like Zack, basically, that should be there.
Basically, right. So that's what I got out of this part. Is that, yeah, this is the flashback of them heading to Mount Nibble to take care of whatever was there, and then Sephiroth went up there and lost his fucking mind.
Yeah, that Mako reactor. And I know you probably can't see it in the screen share, so I'll just point it out. But at the top of the screen, you can kind of see that navigational. So, and at the bottom, I guess left of the screen, you see command. So this seems to be in-game footage.
Right.
And also what has been pointed out to me is that Cloud will kind of take some, like, more elaborate steps than Sephiroth. So it's even speculated that you're actually playing Sephiroth this part of the game.
That'd be nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we know he'll run shit if he's playable.
Right.
I saw you lying there.
You know, it's at this point of the game, he's like killing Dragon, doing, thousands of points of hit damage.
Right.
And you're doing your piddly 100, 200.
I think Cloud was hitting for 1s and 2s in the flashback.
Yeah.
Where are you?
So here's where Zack survives.
I'm trying so hard to find you.
We saw at the end of the
Sorry.
first game.
Failed you.
Da-da-da.
Okay, so let me.
You were here with me 5 years ago. Where are you?
You're here with me 5
What
years
happened to
ago.
you?
I'm trying so hard to find you.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you. And rule over the planet with Genova at his side. I saw you lying there. I figured it was too late.
I saw you lying there. I figured it was too late.
Wait a minute.
That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter?
That might not be Aerith.
That sounds like Tifa.
That might be Tifa talking. That's what I was just saying. Because remember, something happened. Sephiroth fucked up her dad or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she...
Because he slashed her in the original game. He slashed her in that Mako reactor.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. She ran up on him, and yeah, he fucked her up too, and just kind of left her. And yeah, oh, let's see. Now you got me scrambling over here about this.
Just playing it through here again. What is fact and fiction? See. It's just going to be major changes to the story. It's going to be a whole nother just game series, basically, just based off the characters of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, that's what we're dealing with completely.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you.
Adding a little red to the bottom of the logo, which again I've heard rumors about that possibly referring to the resurrection of another character from Crisis Core.
Oh, well, there you go, right there. Crisis Core out this winter.
Gotcha, Crisis.
Because I wanted this trailer maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month old. So, and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth out next winter. Which don't get yourself fooled, people. Winter,
right?
Is at least 3, sometimes 4 months here in Ohio.
Right.
So that could be anywhere between December and March.
Right. That could be March 2023.
Right.
Sure.
Wonder if they'll even do something where they try to release it around the same time that the remake came out.
Yeah.
I want to say that was around like a March, April-ish.
You know, I'm really conflicted watching this because I really was frosted by the fact that this remake was going to be done in installments. I really did want the one-for-one remake. I'm still not over that, to be completely honest with you. And then now kind of simmering on the fact that it's not even a remake. It's more of a different timeline or spin-off series, whatever you want to refer it to.
Reimagining?
But yet it seems to be referencing the first game. So I'm not a big fan of that at all. Like I did like the game. I thought the game was enjoyable, but I really am not wanting it to diverge that much far. And looking at that trailer, to be honest with you, I honestly think we're going to get a reversal here. I think Aerith is going to live, and we're going to see like Cloud die. I'm going to predict that we're going to see Cloud die in this series.
You know you're my dude, but I so hope you're wrong, because I think they would be absolutely ridiculous to kill off Cloud. You can have Kate Sith, but leave Cloud alone. I might even give you Tifa, but leave Cloud alone.
Leave Cloud. I don't know. I really it's a really big disappointment that we went from, back in 2015 being excited as Final Fantasy VII band boys to learn they're going to do a remake, and they never actually did a remake. They just did we'll use what you used, reimagining an episodic reimagining, I'm really, really, really disappointed in that. But you know what? I could kind of get past that. To be completely honest with you, I could kind of get past that. But another thing that really sours my attitude about this is we're supposed to be experiencing this one story. Yes, it was supposed to be or meant to be episodic or changed to episodic. But then now, I played this game on the PlayStation 4. I don't plan to buy a PlayStation 5 for a lot of reasons. Nowadays, it's just better. It's the gaming experience is better on PC. So exclusivity is really the only reason that I would see one buying console, and I'm just kind of over that. So it's going to be the rest of this story is going to be released on a whole nother system, going to force people to get a system that's more expensive, that's really not easy to find. Yeah, we got tough economic times, gas, all the food, all these commodities going up in price. I mean, I think it's really shitty and disappointing that I'm going to have to buy a whole nother system in order to play the rest of these games and experience the story.
Right.
So
I agree.
That's why overall this Final Fantasy remake and now rebirth, Square Enix in general is just really, really disappointing me. Just think of how many companies, because Nintendo gets shit for this all the time because they just re-release and remake their old games, yet people buy them. They're not doing it, because it's fun. They're doing it because it makes money, and I've seen them get a fair amount of shit for it. But yet, Square Enix has its customer base clamoring for remakes of its older game, and it's kind of done that. It's done the pixel remaster of the Final Fantasy series, at least like the first 6. Heck, Final Fantasy IV, my personal favorite, has gotten the remake treatment a couple of times. It went from 2D to 3D and then kind of back again, I think. Gee, where's fucking Chrono Trigger? Like, can we get a updated, remastered Chrono Trigger? I know they just did Chrono Cross not too long ago, but...
Oh, you want to talk about RPG remakes? Where's my Legend of Dragoon?
Well, that's Sony, but right. That's along the same damn lines, though. Like, imagine having your customer saying, no, we're fine. Remake the game. We'll buy it again. I'm one of those customers. And they don't do it. Instead, they just do other wacky shit. And that's why I'm just really disappointed again with this whole Final Fantasy VII remake. We got ripped off. We never got our remake. We're getting a reimagining, which, I don't know, is not what I wanted. And we're not getting anything else that we want. Chrono Trigger.
He broke it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It just seems like money in the bank, and they don't want to cash the check.
Right. Yeah, because at least for me, I can't speak for everybody out there. I can't afford a PS5. At least not to drop all that money at one time.
Right.
And even if I had the money to be able to afford a PS5, you can't find one anywhere.
Yeah, so it's really not a good prospect that out this winter. Oh, great. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I know the Final Fantasy VII remake had it was like a year's worth of exclusivity for Sony PlayStation systems. So
yeah, something like that.
Probably just have to do we know the Final Fantasy Intergrade that's already on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But we do know Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be exclusive, but I guess I'll just have to wait until it becomes unexclusive and perhaps play it on my PC.
Right, because I watched a video, and I hate when people say stuff like this or assume stuff about other people. You can't assume anything about other people. Mm-hmm. They said something about, it's coming out next winter. That means you have a whole year and a half to try to save up money to get to get it. And hold on, you don't know anybody in their lives and what they go through and what they got going on.
Right, exactly.
You can't suggest something like that. That stuff like that annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't come in your house talking about, you need to change this carpet. If I'm not the one paying for it, I'm going to shut the fuck up.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean that's even before all this, crazy economy shit, where I'm paying way more for food and gas. Like even before that, like PlayStation 5s were hard to find. So it would just been a better move, goodwill gesture to the fans at large, to say, yeah, no, we're just gonna release this on PlayStation 4. I mean, to me, that would cut down development time because you've already got the engine worked out. So you're really just putting, whatever skins you need or putting the characters in the environment. So just simplify the process entirely. And they're choosing not to do that. They're going for, I don't know. I guess I'm sure Sony gave some sort of kickback because, again, it's exclusive to the PlayStation 5. So.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me know, what you think in the comments, gang. Do you like the fact that we didn't get our 1-for-1 remake like we were expecting and that we got a reimagining? Are you okay with this game series and story being split between multiple console generations? Let me know what you think down in the comments. All right. Well, that does it for this edition of the Omega Level Nerds. Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. Please, we are very meager sized, so, again, I appreciate all of those who have downloaded us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast app, but please, if you could, please subscribe, go to YouTube and search Omega Level Nerds. Please subscribe to our channel there. I would certainly appreciate that. I'm really looking to get to the 100 subscribers mark so I can at least get a custom URL. I really need your help, guys, there. Please tell your friends, tell your family, even if they don't want to listen to me and other Omega Level Nerds talk about nerdy shit. That's great. If you could just subscribe, though, that would really help. And, of course, you can follow the show on Twitter at Omega Level Nerds. We could use that there. I'm still very low on followers there. So, please, and it would be very, very appreciated. I'm Dsquare, and you can follow me personally on Twitter at Dsquare72. So let me know what you think of the show. Until next time, peace and love, and we'll talk to you again soon.